what kind of sucks about my scenario is that I have to kind of pick and choose between the two cameras that I've got. I've got this camera, which shoots a larger picture, it shoots at a higher frame rate, and it has a larger resolution, but I can't, zoom in or do anything like that. I can't show details or whatever. But then I've got the pre-HD, pre-widescreen digital camera that I've had since 2006, maybe 2007-ish, somewhere around there. I've got that, but it's low resolution and it only shoots at 20 frames per second. And, I still can't, do that thing. So I'm kind of, and on top of that, my lighting situation is not very good here. It's ironic. I mean, it's 12:18 p.m. It's literally middle of the day, and the sun is out, and it's end of March, and it's really nice outside, and I've got a window directly behind the monitor, or behind the monitor, but I've got a toy shelf there, and it's covered in toys, so the natural lighting is blocked. So I have to resort to using that, and I have to resort to using those, so it's just kind of the scenario I'm finding myself in. So as a quick update, what's it called? Tiger Lance Kishiryu upgrade thing showed up. And I said, and I broadly said, if I liked Kishiryu and if I liked Kishiryu 3 Nights, so far the only accessory I would be getting that we'd seen so far is like, yes, I would get the Lance Tiger, or is it Tiger Lance? I don't know. Anyways, it's one of those two anyway. Anyways, those pictures popped up yesterday, and well, let me put it to you this way. Cube animals, fucking cube animals, have more articulation than that. Think about that. Think about that. Cube animals, which have the like Super Sentai sub-mecha, you don't worry about articulation because that's just not the way the toys work. That's not the way any of them have ever worked. There are a few exceptions, yes, but they are few and far between and usually quite expensive. But this one's just, I can't even say it's a brick. I mean, it's a parts former, and yeah, and that's what Ryu Soldier's going for. Okay, well, not okay, but let me put it to you this way. The jaw does not move. Okay, that's not a big deal. They're oftentimes critters, Super Sentai critters. They don't have the jaw that moves. It moves on screen, but it doesn't move as a toy. Whatever. The shoulders don't move. The hips don't move. The only thing that moves in its animal form when it's by itself is the tail. That's the only thing that moves. Which one was it? Cube Tiger had the exact same percentage of articulation built into it. Not including those fucking stupid claw thingies. Not including those, Cube Tiger had the exact same articulation. If that's a brick former, and Tiger Lance is a parts former, and yet they somehow managed to have the exact same level of articulation and posability and fun all by themselves, then yeah, something is dramatically wrong with your toy line. Dramatically. The color scheme works. Red, blue, pink, green. That works. And I like the chest armor thing. That's kind of nice, but just kind of everything else about it is shit. And oh, by the way, parts former. So no, that's not Super Sentai. That's not Super Sentai. It can hold the title and it can be whatever counted as whatever sees is. That's not Super Sentai. That is not the Super Sentai that I signed up for in 2004, and that's not what attracted me to it in 1993. It's nowhere near. there's currently no place in my heart for Kishi Ryu Sentai Ryu Soldier. I've seen one episode and I'm like, so things aren't looking good. They gotta pull something out of the ass really, really soon. Just saying. So, speaking of parts formers, are you ready for round 2 yet? So I decided to heed my own advice and not wait 9 months after getting something in the mail. I need to stop doing that. Although you guys have no idea how many sealed figures I still have. Not even like in a shipping box, but like sealed, haven't opened. It tells you how much I've been waiting to get my reviewing engine up and going, because I've been doing this for years now. I'm not kidding, years. Not everything you guys see in these unboxings is everything that I've got. Shame on me, I'm turning into a pack rat, or something to that effect. I don't know. Anyways, this came in on Thursday and today is Saturday, so here we go. I wasn't planning on getting this. I looked at it and maybe, but I suppose I just needed a little more convincing on the matter. And unfortunately, I couldn't wait for a sale because it was literally the last one that they had in stock, and the price had not changed. So, damn, I better grab it while I have the chance. You know, it's that kind of scenario. So, I went ahead and I got myself Dia-Battles V2. Now, according to this thing, it's called the Alpha Plus version, which means technically this is a repaint. It also means it's more expensive than the original basic Dia-Battles V2. So, it's a repaint, but I'm darned if I can tell the difference. So, yep, I got Dia-Battles. I got Dia-Battles. I can't see what I'm doing. Once again, it's a very pretty box. And again, the top, that looks awesome. That looks old school. Bunch of gibberish on the bottom. Alright, yeah. And then, of course, the back side is just loaded with everything. God, I hope the recordings don't get accidentally deleted. Like, I don't know what happened to the Big Power GV IMS recordings. Like, I'm still baffled by that. Hopefully, maybe it's this shirt. You know, maybe this shirt is just kind of photogenic, because it's the exact same shirt that I wore when I overviewed that. You know, maybe that'll give me some good luck. I don't know. Shut up and get to it, Ava. Now, unlike the Big Power GV, which just, I mean, despite the IMS repaint that I had, the Big Power GV was just loaded with accessories and features that that were just very much not in the original Big Powered from the 1980s. Unlike the Big Power GV, the Dia-Battles V2 is a bit closer to its original 1980s counterparts, taped on the sides as well. Oh my, the security features. So originally when I saw this, I wasn't planning on getting it. I just like the beef of Big Power GV, and I was like, that's the one I want. I saw them, I mean, I learned about them around the same time, so whatever. But, yeah, I wasn't feeling it. But recently I felt like, you know, this Diaclone line, it's damned expensive, but it's also damned good. It might be worth getting this. So, with that reasoning, or with that line of reasoning finished, oh, ho ho ho, the box landed on my bed vertical. It almost went over the edge. It might. If you see me jump, you're going to know why. What the hell? That was great. So, unlike Big Power GV, Dia-Battles is the kind of frontline fighter. it was also the very first figure that was released. So that means it's going to have the higher mobility and the higher speed and stuff like that. Which is kind of the thing that kind of put me off the trail the first time, when I first saw it. I was like, I don't want to get the high mobility one. Like, yeah, it looks like it, and but it's kind of like brushing up against Valkyrie territory, and I kind of don't want to repeat that. Like, it's one of many imitators that have come and gone over the years, so. In addition to being taped, these are also clipped into place in the clamshells, so you have to be really careful that when you pull it apart, it doesn't snap all of a sudden and you lose everything. It's definitely smaller than Big Power GV. Definitely smaller. Now, originally when I unboxed Big Power GV, I actually did pull out the Dia-Nauts, which I'm attempting to get to right now. There we go. But ultimately I decided they're just so tiny, not worth it. So I'm going to do it differently this time. This time I'm actually going to show you one of these little marvels of toy engineering, like real collector grade toy engineering. Here is a Dia-Naut. Very fuzzy on your screen, obviously. Very fuzzy on your screen. Let's see. I think I can scoot forward now. Very, very fuzzy. Very tiny. And like I said, it's not even... How long is it? 2.8 centimeters. And just over 1 inch tall. That's what we're dealing with here. That's how tiny these things are. Very, very tiny. Just the tiniest little... I don't know what you could call them. Why am I so off center? What's going on here? And they've got ball and socket joints, which is amazing for something this size. In fact, I think the only articulation they don't have is the head. Let's see. Nope, that's an ab crunch. Which, by the way, an ab crunch on a 1 inch figure. I'm going to get them into a seated position just so you can see that they actually can do this. This is why, by the way, this is why I am not... This is why I'm not... well, I'm not going to keep them out of the box. Like, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. Like, I don't care about the level of articulation. That's amazing. And then they have an ab crunch. He's just kind of look like he's bending over. So they actually do have an ab crunch. I don't know how well you can see it, but they can, whoop, almost chopped it. And then, as is tradition with all of the Dia-Nauts, both past and present, they have the tiniest pixels of metal implanted in their feet, in their boots, so that when you, gosh, I don't know whether to play around with this new one or the light over here. Either way, it's so tiny. Does it really matter? They have just the tiniest, the absolute tiniest of metal slivers sitting in there, so that you can stick metal, or you can stick the stick-on magnets. Yeah, there's 4 small pieces, which again I'm not going to be attaching those because, well, I'm going to be putting these back in the box. However, since I'm in the area, this is actually something that can be sold separately. It's a little motorcycle. And yes, both wheels move. There's a pair of guns. There's a pair of guns to either side of the front wheel. And it rests slightly to one side, but there's a kickstand. There's a little tab on either side. Presumably that's for pegging it in wherever it goes. And it's just the one motorcycle. Now, because this is that ab crunch, wow. Because this is a repaint, I don't know what all's different in here compared to the original Die Battles BV. I'm sorry, version 2. So obviously when I'm done here, I'm going to research it a little better. The hands actually, they don't have hands. They're just too small. The hands are actually in a fist. And so what ends up happening here, rather than hanging onto handlebars, what happens instead, get in there, what happens instead is the instrument panel on a motorcycle, there's actually a gap. So there's no instrument panel, so there's just a little, there's a rectangular hole, and that way he can end up, he just gonna slots, oops, let's see. It's so tiny, and I'm not used to dealing with things like this, that like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, see, this is why I'm not gonna keep these out of the box. Anyways, little motorcycle. And it's so fuzzy and you can't see any of it. Why is my hand is also daintily sitting over here. Just a little dude sitting on a little motorcycle, and he's falling out of his motorcycle. Motorcycle's going back in. Never to be seen again. If it's mentioned in the instructions, I'll let you know. There are there's 3 cockpits, meaning 3 separate vehicles. But one of the cockpits has 2 seats in it. So that is all you're going to see from me of the Dia-Nauts and the motorcycle. Oh, that reminds me. I already knew about the Battle Buffalo a couple of months ago when it was first announced, but I was like, the one big thing I don't like about it, aside from the massive bubble cockpit for the head, is it's got little antennas that stick out of here, and that's got 2 really big horns that stick out of the top, and I'm like, ugh, just ugh. But I recently saw some reviews of it. I think I want to get one, so it's time to start saving up another $200 or whatever it is for a regular Battle Buffalo. So I was like, oh yeah, I want a Battle Buffalo now. Here are the magnets, and it's just it's like a sticker sheet. Actually, it is a sticker sheet. Let's be honest. So you have to lift out the decal, or lift out the little magnet, and then attach it with the adhesive. So anyways, those are the magnets you get, and I have no idea where they're placed. Presumably inside the cargo bay of that one vehicle. But I am not going to be using that. Wow, that's really folded up. I guess when it's sitting in the warehouse for a year, that's going to be happening, you know. Just like with Big Power GV, you're going to get this little comic, or not comic, yeah, I'm sorry, little magazine, little leaflet or whatever it is. And instead of the Big Power GV, you're going to get the Dia-Battles V2. So Diaclone takes place somewhere in the 2030s. It's all in English, but there's a, they do that typical Japanese anime thing where they don't want to nail down the exact date, but they'll give you a decade. So it's 203X. So Diaclone takes place in the 2030s. And that's the only English that I'm seeing anywhere in here, except for at the bottom it says Dia-Clone. Don't fall, please. And then the text is unreadable on my camera. Maybe I need a new webcam. Maybe I need a better camera, period. Oh, this looks like plot of the story. Ooh, now that's some more ruder shit I'd like to get my hands on. Maybe they're playing up Diaclone Reboot as more of a sequel. Maybe, because there's some pictures here that look very reminiscent of the original. In fact, there's Battle Buffalo right there, which I vaguely recognize just because of the ears on the blasted thing. And I have no idea what that is. Act 1, Act 2, all the way to Act 5. But here's the thing, though. There's an even larger robo. I can't think of what it is. It's like Big Battle Base or something along those lines. Is it Big Dia Battle Base or whatever it is? That was in the original Diaclone from the 1980s, which we have not seen yet. If we haven't seen announcements or anything along those lines, and yet there's a painting of it right there. The head of the icon of Diaclone, that is the biggest face. That's not Dia Battle's face. That's actually that big Robo or whatever it is. And so here it is. It's a painting of the original version of whatever that is. And then there's a bunch of other, like none of these are reboot. These are all 1980s Generation 1 type Diaclone. And the same thing with this robot over here. But then over here, you start seeing the reboot stuff. So maybe, by the way, here's the Waruder, very fuzzy Waruder thing that I was talking about, which we haven't seen. I've not seen anything like that yet. So maybe they are playing this off as like a sequel or a continuation of the original story. Maybe that's what they're doing. Gosh, if only I could read Japanese. Eva, you've got access to government funding for education. Why don't you go to school and learn how to speak Japanese or write it or read it? Not very practical. And I don't think the government would pay just for my entertainment's sake. They would want a reason for it, so. And then here's all of the modes. Something here called Big IA, or I'm sorry, Big AI. Some sort of artificial intelligence, maybe? I don't know. Those are not over-the-shoulder cannons. Those are, but those are not. Those are little pea shooters right there. I'm sorry. And then there's all of the combination 3, combination 2, combination 1. One thing surprises me though, in all the CGA cartoons commercials that I've seen for Diaclone, all of the Dia-Nauts are faceless. You don't see their faces. It's just it's a blank visor. That's the blank black visor. You can't see it. It's reflective actually. You can't see their eyes. You can't see their nose, their mouth, nothing like that. And yet all of the Dia-Nauts that are included, they have no visor, but they do have faces that have been painted, you know. So I'm kind of wondering if there's a discrepancy there or what's going on. I'm not entirely certain. Get in there. Get in there. With Big Power GV, they were all stored in the vehicles, but this one is just blatantly in robot mode, or at least the torso and head are. And it has the exact same track system for the shoulders that Big Powered GV has. Although, I think it's safe to say that the diameter of the joints are not the same size. So you're not going to be able to take like Big Power GV's arms and stick it on here. You won't be able to do that, or the legs for that matter. Waist swivel. Double waist swivel. Ooh, we're getting fancy. Although considering these are collector grade action figures, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised at this point. Okay, do I just straight pull? Oh, that's a heck of a spring. You can actually see the spring in there. Okay, how do I... Okay, it's not quite what I wanted to do yet. How do I lock this down? Okay, the very first step, they tell you to pull this out, but it's not. Huh? Are you going to stay? Okay. That's a heck of a spring that's in there. Remind me to never, ever, ever store this thing with the head down, or with the head down, because it's going to stretch out the spring. Wow. Okay, I like that the pistons are individual on the landing struts, but there's a hole running down the middle. But I would gladly sacrifice that for structural strength. Unless, oh, that might be something they want you to peg in later on. Which, you know, knowing my experiences with Big Power GV, they're probably going to have something peg in there at some point, so I guess I shouldn't complain too loudly. Or maybe I still can. Cockpit can open. the tiniest of control panels, but it does not tab into place. Come on. My fingers aren't that small. So they give you 4 of these, which there is a distinctive front and back. Yeah, those go in there, never coming out. I guarantee you that. One of the other things I hesitated about, once I learned how big Power GV IMS was, I was concerned that because Dia-Battle's V2 would be smaller, I was concerned, that it might be too small for my big dumb American fingers to deal with. Because like I said, I don't deal with action figures and display figures or statuettes or things like that. I don't deal with those very often. Just by choice, I don't deal with those. So getting something like this, and the same thing with the Dia-Nauts, those are so tiny. Like, even if I wasn't doing an unboxing, I wouldn't pull those out. I want to say last year, or earlier last year, I don't remember when exactly, I unboxed that Acid Rain World support vehicle, whatever it is. I can't remember what it was called all of a sudden. Yeah, it's not like you needed to keep track of it. Anyways, I unboxed that thing, and the action figure, or the figure in that was, okay, I'm going to get this 4th cannon barrel out of here. Work with me. Oh, God, it's pop out of one hole, go right into another one. No, don't fall into another one. Thank you. Anyways, as I was unboxing that thing, the action figure on that, because it's like 1/72nd scale or something along those lines, the action figure was about that big. So like I could actually hang on to it, and there were no particular antennas or anything like that I had to worry about. So not a problem. But yeah, Dia-Nauts are way too tiny for me. Way too tiny. I mean, like I said, they're just over. They're like 1/16 of it. They are 1 and 2/16. God damn, I hate the standard measurement system. I wish America would go to metric. I really do. It'd be so much easier to just say a millimeter or a centimeter or a meter. It's so much easier. Anyways, here's Battles 01. And it's just a little pod. No wings to speak of, and the antenna on the head. Boy, the head is really insisting on sliding forward. I'm going to have to argue with you later. Yeah, these antennae, these are so tiny, they're so thin. It's like, I almost want to say thinner than like a paper clip, like a small paper clip. Those kind of paper clips. It's like that kind of thin. Not even like a regular, inch and a quarter paper clip, like the real tiny ones. That's how thin these things are. Anyways, the 4 cannon barrels. You can tilt them up or down. And then it's saying you can tilt the hips. Oh, the hips are friction. I thought they were ratcheting. Anyways, you can tilt these down. If you watch that, I'll link it down in the description. You can look at it later. That second trailer, when I was unboxing the Big Power GV IMS, you can see the hips prominently shifting themselves around when Battles 01 is Battles Vehicle 1. When Battles 1 is on the launch pad, you can see the hip thrusters prominently engaging and swiveling, and then it takes off down the ramp. And then it can fly because... Shut up. And you can put a little dude in there, but I am not. Time to move on to the next page. Oh, that's it. That's all it does by itself. The cannon barrels, you have to attach all 4 of the cannon barrels, and all 4 are exactly the same. So, And the landing struts can turn up and down due to transformation. You can also make the landing struts, let's see, You can also turn the landing struts out to the side as opposed to curling them up all the time. And the lower two cannon barrels can be removed and then attached to what am I pointing at? Attached to the back of the skids as well. So, oh, I see. You point these down for like a skid, a landing skid or whatever it is. That's what that's for. Okay. All right. So you point the engines down for when it's on the ground, or you point the hips down when it's on the ground, and you point them back when it's flying. Fair enough. I was wondering about landing skid. Ooh, that's a smudge right there. That's totally not an authorized color. What is that? It's rust. No, it's not rust. I don't know what that is. And now we're moving on to battles number 2, which is basically the single largest part in this whole thing. Well, probably. It's the widest, certainly. Okay, it's telling me to attach these with the engines. The hands and the engines are actually the same thing. So, but it's showing me to attach them with the hands already flipped around. So maybe these were put into the box upside down or something like that. Anyways, open up the panels on the two sides. Flip this around. Is there a direct way you have to do it? Nah. You can flip them either way. And then close that up again. It's weird they didn't. They put them in the box with the hands opened up, but it doesn't mention it in the instructions. Oh well. Oh my gosh, that wing plastic is so thin. Holy shit. Whoa, how do they expect it to stay? Whoa. That better be POM, to say the least. You remember how I mentioned previously there's POM in Big Power GVIMS? Well, if it's in here somewhere, well, I hope it's in here, because these wings are frighteningly thin. Is there any mention of materials? Maybe on the box. Wow, that's disconcerting. Although maybe that's just me. I don't know. Okay, moving on. That's disconcerting to say the least, how narrow those wings are. God. Really, really narrow. I'm gonna take this. Again, it's a little thing, it's a little cockpit. Just a little bit of paint right there on the top, and that's it. And again, reclining pilot. The control panels are so small that instead of individual buttons, it's just rows of lines. That's all it is. It's just rows of lines. Okay. Flip the fins up. A little bit of resistance. Oh, they ratchet, that's why. Okay, so this is Battles 02. Clearly the heavy lifter of the three. This one has actual wings on it. Battles 01 didn't. And very obviously some additional hip joints right there. So, which is weird considering Battle 01 has the, I don't know, that's just how they combine with each other, I guess. Whatever. There is, however, some cross-compatibility between the different sets, which is what's supposed to happen. So I'm going to take one of these from Big Power GV, and there's an H-shaped connector sitting on the bottom. It's just a peg. And the answer is yes, it is. Wait. Maybe if you peg it in the right place, eh? Well, no, it does not fit. Oh, maybe if I slide this, yeah, if I slide this back further. Okay, so that's back further, and it still doesn't fit because the joints of the The tails gets in the way. Hmm. Well, I know they're compatible with each other. Maybe not in this particular instance, but they are. Oh, there's an H. There's an H-shaped clip right on the underside. Yeah, where's my... Yeah, what am I doing? There's another clip right there. Okay, so, alright, that's not meant for that. I know they're compatible, it's just I kind of failed in my first example demonstrating this. Sorry. Yes, there is powered... yeah, right, I'm sorry, Battles 02. No landing gear, but this is acceptable. Kind of wish the wings have flopped in the other direction. I wonder if you can. There is a joint right there. Maybe I can get away with that. Like pretend those are the engines and those are the intakes, or I might be able to do that. Let's try it. Oh, the cockpit seals in the arms so that the arms can't come out again. Just like with vehicles, or with powered vehicles 2 and 3, no, I'm sorry, with vehicles 1 and 2, you could not remove the arms once you attached it to power vehicle 1. You couldn't do it. Wouldn't let you. Okay. So you can flip the engines around and still have the, or you can flip the wings around and still have the arms fit. So that is an option if you choose, but the problem is you're going to have this big sticky thing sticking up out of here, out the front here. So kind of up to you at that point. But yeah, I can't. Oh, I can't remove the arm. And there's the demonstration right there. I was trying to remove the arm to see if I could do it, but no, it forced the cockpit out. So there's your answer. You have to remove the cockpit in order to remove the arms. Cool. Okay. Okay. There's Battles 02. I should point out so far for Battles 1 and 2, unlike powered vehicles 1 through 5, so far none of these have alternate modes all by themselves. Maybe it's just because they're so small you can't at this point, which is possible. Okay, so take the cockpit out, and this is something I am not going to do, is you take the cockpits out, you open up this panel in the back, and I believe this is also where some of the magnets... Yeah, I think there's a couple of magnets that you would tab in there. Anyways, you take the motorcycle out and you stick it here. It's in front of me, I might as well. And there's a tab on the other side, underside of the motorcycle. So you can see this motorcycle right there. You can store inside. You know, I might just leave the motorcycle in there. Not sure. I'll have to think about that. But for the time being, for my own sanity... Hello, something moved on here. Hello. Something moved on the motorcycle. The front wheel extends like a millimeter or two. Wow. I did not know that. Impressive that they went through that effort. Okay. Still not going to warrant me keeping it out of the box. Just going to leave it there. But I didn't know that, so okay. Oh, it says it right there in the next step. There's a button along the side here. And when you press on this gray button right here, when you press on the button, these two plastic clips move. So that's how you remove it. Interesting. Interesting. Let's get the range of motion out of these wings. Oh, those wings will only tilt down 90 degrees, or they'll only tilt down 45 degrees, and that's it. They really don't want you moving those things. Okay. So there's a cockpit by itself. So the wings will go upwards like that, but it's insisting that it goes no lower than 45 degrees. So don't try to push it any farther than that. It just won't. And the front gear just slips up like that. How flexible are these gear on the outside, though? They go all the way up. Do they flip all the way under? No, they do not. Okay, so you get 180 degrees of motion for the actual skids themselves. 180 up and down. Oh, and there they are telling me to fold them up. Okay. Yeah, because ordinarily they are down like this. They want you to put them all the way up. And then for the actual last part of the robo, which is kind of very obvious pair of legs. Oh my gosh, do those clip around there? That'd be so cool if that did. Oh, that's why they tell you to press on the button. That does not grip on there very well. I can see what they're trying to do, but there's just enough room in there for me. Because what happens is, on the big powered GV, there's a clip that folds down from either side, and then you hook it in together like this. Well, the exact same thing on Battle 03 happens between there. And so those two plastic clips, or the hooks I was telling you about, actually they actually wrap around and hang on to those two parallel bars that are going between the legs. That's what's holding the whole thing together. So it's a joint, it's a tab, it's a hook hanging onto a tab. And unlike on Big Power GV, where it was optional, I said, you know, don't bother folding those in and out. You kind of do need to actually have these things sticking out like that. By the way, that underside detail looks pretty neat. Is that it? Yeah, this is Battles 03. And you can also see the clips again along either side on the outside as well. So the legs, just like with big powered or with powered vehicles 4 and 5, it doesn't really matter which way you insert the vehicles. They're identical. It's the same vehicle. They just duplicated it. The exact same thing applies to these legs as well. One leg, there is no left leg specifically, right leg specifically. So if you get them separated and swapped, there's not going to be any conflict of interest there. So we've got tractor treads here and here. Non-functional. No wheels. That's disappointing. No little, what are they called? Caster wheels, I think. Something like that. Those little disc wheels. They don't have any wheels on here. None of these do, now that I think about it. They painted all the tractor treads have been painted on, and yet there's no wheels in there to prevent the plastic from getting scratched. Grr. Yeah, this is probably the least convincing of the three modes. It's very obviously some stuff that's just kind of some leftover parts cobbled together. Like Battle 01, it's a torso. It very much is a torso, but you can kind of get away with believing it's something else. This, well, that's obviously some connection points there, and that's very obviously some feet right there. So, and this is very obviously a pair of legs. So I was like, and oh, by the way, it's got a cockpit slapped on the top. So yep, there's that. And then open up the cockpit. Hello. Oh wow, it's a section. It's a divided cockpit. So there's actually two different cockpits, or two cockpit screens. And what do we have in there? There's no control panel, or no, there's a tiny control panel. No, there's control panels on either side. But then the partition between the pilots also has some screens and buttons on it, so molded in. That's nice. That's nice. So there's Battles 03. What, they already want me to go to robot mode, really? I guess they don't believe in mod changes on this one. Maybe it's in the alternate modes, or maybe it's like kind of in between the modes. Okay, so they just want me to take everything and just tear it to pieces now. I think the only thing that's going to surprise me at this point is, yeah. I didn't know the transformation of Big Power GV, but because this one is less complicated, I think I'll be able to figure this one out just by kind of what I see in the commercial, and that's it. So take the cockpit off, and I might want to do this beforehand. Fold up those tabs. So I got a pair of identical legs, so you can tab them in this way, I was saying it a moment ago. You can tab it in this way. You can tab it in this way. You can tab it in this way. And it doesn't really matter because it's exactly the same. Except they're not. Because the screws are visible on one side, but they're not visible on the other. I think that kind of takes the fun out of it, though. Yeah, I'm not gonna... Yeah, they're already separated. Okay, so... Curious to see how these are going to attach to each other. Now, for big power GV, it was a very solid clunk when you stick the knees together. Let's see how well this comes apart. Yeah, that's still a pretty solid click. That goes that direction. Yes. Oh! That's the most solid ratcheting I've heard of anything since the knee joints on that thing. That's a very satisfying click right there. Oh, I might have put these in backwards. Shows how much I know. Alright, let's take it apart. You know, maybe if you'd read the instructions, it wouldn't have been as much of a problem, dumbass. Okay, so let's actually... do what they tell you to do, as opposed to just guessing that that's the proper direction. Like the noob you are, Ava. Such a know-it-all. Eek, where do I hang on? Jesus. There we go. Because I have to be careful not to push down on the antenna. I have to be careful not to push down on the head. Don't push down on the cockpit. But it's like, The hip transformation joint that I just used, and these lower cannon barrels, or lower, I don't know, landing gear, landing struts, whatever it is, they're all tied into the same joint, so when you move one, the other goes along with it. Okay, so flip up these blue panels on the back. Maybe I shouldn't have worn a blue shirt today. Oh well. So I'm going to flip up these panels on the back, and flip back these tractor treads all the way. And you may not have seen that very well, so I'll do it again. Oh, dude, the tractor tread... Dude, the tractor treads have their own joint. I totally didn't know about. Dude, I didn't know that till just now. Whoa. Why would they do that? Whoa. Okay, so, anyways, fold this all the way up, and as we're lifting up, the feet are going to get pushed out of position, or pushed into position, I'm sorry. I did that wrong. Did I do that wrong? No, I did not. And then close up the panels behind it, and that locks down those, and then you've got the feet, which have toe joints. They have a toe joint on them? Yeah, they do? Well, they definitely have an ankle tilt. Yeah, they've got an ankle tilt. They've got mad forward and backwards motion. Do they have a toe joint? It looks like it does. It does. There's an actual toe joint. Not much, but it is there. There's this little click I heard, and maybe you just have to face or force it the first. Yeah. So there's a little click. The first time you, the first time you flex the toe, it's gonna click. Don't be worried about that, because afterwards it's a friction joint. It's not a ratchet. And then do those turn to the side? Yeah. It's a full 360 motion with the ankles. All of it friction. Wow, it's all universal joints. Impressive. Take the landing struts and move them to the back. No, that's what they want you to do. Okay. So the cannon barrels are not flush against the butt. They actually want the actual landing pads. They want the landing pads against the waist. They want you to do that. Okay. That's surprising. I would have thought they would want them as close together. They would want the cannon barrels as close together and as close in as possible, but for whatever reason they don't. It's a curious choice. Well, there's nothing to say that I can't, right? Yeah, I can flip those around. Oh, yes. Yeah. If I take the cannon barrels off, then they'll go all the way. I'm not going to do a swap right now. Forget you. God, most 6-inch Power Ranger figures are bigger than this, or almost this big. That's kind of the scale of what I'm having to deal with here. And it's double waist swivel. What the hell? Why would I have two waist swivels on it? That's curious. This is just kind of an action figure. Which is kind of the thing that I was worried about when I got it, or when I was planning on getting it. Let's see. 7 inches, not including the antenna on the head. 7 inches. So it's going to be a small figure. Really, really expensive tiny figure. A 9-inch figure that costs as much as I put into this thing. God, why is my nose so itchy? God damn it. Okay, let's get Battles 02 involved. First thing you do, rip off the cockpit. Oh, wow. There's 4 clips. There's 5 clips involved, making certain that this thing goes nowhere once it's in position. Wow. This is going to be a very solid click when I get this in. Jesus. This is outrageous, the amount of force I'm having to put into this. Oh my god. Takara, tell me, what the hell? It has nothing to do with lining things up. Oh my god, how am I going to get that out of there? Yeah, how am I going to get that out of there? Darn it. I triggered it. Okay, so that answers that question, how that works. How the hell am I supposed to get those arms out of there again? Because I'm not going to pull on that. Yeah, I'm concerned now. I'm officially in concerned territory. You remember I was complaining earlier about how thin the wings are? Well, here it is. How the Christ do I... God damn. There's 4 C-clips on the back of this thing. And there's 4 associated tabs on the front of Battles 2. 4 of them. And then there's a 5th clip, or there's a 5th T-clip right there that you plug into the back. So there's 5 points of connection just between these 2 figures. Look how tiny this is, and there's 5 points of connection. Big Power GV didn't have that many. Christ. And thin plastic on the wing sections. Jesus. Good engineering it may be, but oh god, and then that rotates and I didn't know it till just now. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. My god. That's very disconcerting. Okay, and then slide that along the track. There we go. And this is the exact same motion that was done in, hang on, I'll give you a better angle. This is the exact same motion that was done in Big Power GV. You slide the arm along the track. It's the exact same thing, it's the exact same motion, which is brilliant. Why does that insist on shifting like that? Those head antennas, I wish I could remove them because those are going to break so easily. So easily. Tilt the wings and then tilt those independently. Okay, so the joint that I was using earlier. So tilt the wings independent, and then the backpack. How's this? Yeah, and then the backpack, or there's another section here. Independent of those joints, you fold that down and it snaps into position. Wow. Okay. I'm starting to think I paid a bit too much for this. Don't get me wrong, this is a brilliant bit of toy engineering. Again, it's smaller, but it's using some of the same tolerances, I'll say, that you would ordinarily find on a larger Robo that has, more plastic involved and more wiggle room to or more area for your fingers to go in. This one doesn't do that, and that's what concerns me. And then there's a button, gray button off center right there. You're going to press it, and this is what I thought Big Power GV was going to do when the door folds up and the figure went in. I thought that the door section with the powered suit on the inside, I thought that was independent of the head, like there was going to be a button or a trigger on the something. But anyways, in this case, it's a trigger. Let's see, I'm going to turn it this way. So there's that, and yes, there you have Big Power GV. No, I'm kidding. It's Dia-Battles V2. Looking particularly Optimus Prime-ish. Optiprime? Yeah, I guess it would be at this point. It's not even 9 inches tall, by the way. Not even. Which is impressive that they were able to do that. I thought that this was originally going to be, 10 or 12 inches tall, and then Big Power GV would be, anyways, from 14 to 18 inches long, somewhere in there. But when I learned that they were, Big Power GV is just over 12 inches, and this is less than 9, I'm like, do I really want to get this? And like, yeah, I kind of do. Light piping, right? Yes, light piping. But the wings are so thin, it doesn't really matter. And the wings are all manner of flexible. It's kind of like the wings on Geeky Bat that I opened up well over a year ago. It's that kind of flexibility. So I'm just going to go through motions here. And each of the wing joints ratchets every 45 degrees. Might as well stretch these out. It's kind of like opening up a new book, where you deliberately fold the pages, or whatever it is. That's what I'm doing right now, going through these motions and figuring out where to hang on. That's the kind of clicking sound you don't want to hear. That's usually a bad sound. And again, really thin wings. Like really thin wings. And then, if I'm right about this, let's see. Implied, but actually doesn't. Oh, I thought the engine pods moved independent. I'm going to turn this down a little more. Excuse me a moment. Okay. So I thought that the engine pods here would rotate independent of the wings themselves. So it'd be, 2 degrees of axis, 2 degrees of motion, and 2 degrees of motion here. But it doesn't for some reason. But you can still turn the wings up and down when it's attached. So we've got all manner of motion here. Lovely clicking. So that's great. And then the elbows have a ratchet. There we go. And whoa! There's no elbow swivel. You can't do this. Really? Oh, there's a bicep swivel. Okay. Oh, there is a bicep swivel. Okay. I was just like, whoa, you wouldn't be able to do this motion with it. I'm like, what on earth? Why wouldn't you do that? And then there's a panel that opens up on the side here, like this, giving you a very wide, almost 90 degrees, which is acceptable. But that panel, good grief, goes all the way up. just like with big power GV. That's a very tight ratchet on those hip joints. What on earth? Probably because it's like a high tensile strength in a confined space. That's probably the scenario we're dealing with here. Anyways, let's see. This ratchet is ridiculous, but you can't get it out to 90 degrees any farther. No. Like, listen to this. Oops. What did I am so tempted to flip those cannon barrels around. The cannon barrel's on the back of its butt. What was I doing? That's what I'm doing. Listen to this. That's heavy ratchet. Even Big Power GV didn't have that on its shoulders. You remember I was saying, yeah, it doesn't have the Big Power GV doesn't have to lift its arm. It doesn't have to lift any additional weight other than itself. These are a stronger ratchet than what that thing has, and that's a bigger figure. Anyways, actually, I'm gonna get both of the arms out. Oh, friction only. So they ratchet going out to the side, but it's friction going forward and backwards. What the deuce? I guess I already knew that from when was it Battle 01? That's a bizarre choice. And I should point out the those cannon barrels from 01, they're in a really inconvenient place. They're kind of trapped in there, but they're on the butt. So if you wanna twist the leg backwards, you're just as likely to snap off one of those cannon barrels. It's a good thing they disconnect, but unfortunately they don't give you spares. So, and then the knees. Have a very nice ratchet beyond 45 degrees. Or, I'm sorry, beyond 90 degrees. Whoa, well beyond 90 degrees. Look at this. That's ridiculous. That's great. So you can actually have this thing kneeling down. Almost. But you can get it into, let's see. So there's the range of motion for the leg. That is impressive. Very impressive. I don't think it can kneel. And then you also have, yeah, right. You're tilting your head. Yeah, you've got a thigh swell as well, frictionally. And I already went over the feet. They've got friction in all three directions, just at the ankle and a toe tilt, up and down. This is by far meant to be the more acrobatic of the robos. Big Power GV gets very close to this, but this one is clearly meant to be the agile fighter that they're going up against, the War Rooter. War Rooter, that's a great name. Oh, right, forgot, because not present. Open up the landing gear, like this, and then, whoa. Okay, I'm going to impale myself on the nose of this thing. What is... There we go. Well, that's a solid click. And then this is... if it has a name listed, it's not also listed in English, so I don't know what this is called. But anyways, it's not easy to hang on to this. This is whatever this is. No engines though. It's kind of an odd choice. There's no engines on it.